Okay.
Good morning, sir. If you are comfortable and willing and believe you can safely and responsibly testify without a mask, I would appreciate that. Thank you. Go right ahead.
Good morning, sir. Could you please tell us your name? And I think you're going to have to slow down and spell your last one for us, but spell both your first and last name.
Sure. My name is Michael Hilgendorf, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, and the last name's H-I-L-G-E-N-D-O-R-F.
I'm going to ask if you can grab the mic by the base and pull it towards you a little more. Sure. Sometimes lower voices just don't resonate the way that we need them to under the system. Thanks.
Sure.
Michael, how old a man are you?
53 years old.
And where do you live? Just what town in state?
I live in Madison here on the east side.
Did you know someone by the name of Bart and Krista Halderson?
Yes.
Who did you know first?
I knew Krista, went to middle school with her. Me and my wife did.
So you and your wife went to middle school with Krista?
Yes.
And have you known her ever since?
Yes.
Have you been friends with Krista ever since middle school?
Yes.
Could you give us a little bit of history about when Krista met Bart, whenabouts that was, and how they met?
My wife is much more of a has much more of a memory on that. Sure. But Bart and Krista met. They were working at a store in the mall, and they met there, and that's how their relationship grew there. And
your families maintained a friendship with the Haldersons over the years?
Yes, very close. Our kids are very close, the same age, within 2 weeks.
Would you mind telling me a little bit about your family? You're married, you have a wife?
Yep.
What's her name?
My wife is Jane Hilgendorf.
And you have some daughters?
Yep, I have twin girls, Hannah and Haley Hilgendorf. They're 25.
And preview a little bit today, but they're all going to be here today. They're all here right now, aren't they?
Correct.
Over the years, would your families get together a lot and see each other?
Yep, when we had the chance to get together, we always went out to a Mexican restaurant, Pedro's, that we would always hang out with, and that way we had enough room to everybody to spread out and relax.
Are your kids, your daughters, approximately in the same age group as the Halderson boys?
Yes.
Okay. And would they be friends with each other?
Yes.
How well did you know Bart Halderson?
Very well, very well. I think the only thing that we were good is we don't spend enough time together. You're just busy, but we're close friends, and it was nice when they moved back to Windsor so that we're closer and we could spend more time together.
What kind of things would your families do together?
Well, since they moved down to that pond, we used to do a lot of fishing there. That was fun. But mostly we would just visit and get together or have dinner and as we got older.
The Haldersons have a cabin?
Yes.
Do you know whereabouts that was?
I only know about where it was from going over there. I think it's in Langlade County, but I had never personally been there until driving there.
You never went to the cabin with the Haldersons?
No.
Okay. When was the first time you realized that maybe something was up, that either Bart or Krista hadn't been heard from?
Well, the first thing I found that was odd was I think it was, I'm not sure the actual day, if it was Friday but like July 1st, work called me late in the day because I worked with Krista. And they wanted to know if she had called me and let me know that she wasn't going to come in the day, which I found was odd. It was already late in the day for me. I was within an hour or two of leaving. Sure. And I said, no, I hadn't heard anything, but I would try to call the boys and see if we could figure out, what was going on.
And we should pause because I think we should make sure everyone understands. You worked with Krista.
Yes, Krista worked. She had was going to get a job, and I said, well, we have openings at Zimbrick. I work for Zimbrick Volkswagen in Madison. And so she fit in well over at our used building, which is about 1 block across the street. And she fit in down there at the body shop very well.
What was her job?
I think she took care of their accounting and their paperwork and ran their customer counters for when the people would come in and pick up their cars.
Got it. So you got a call on that Friday that she had missed work.
Yeah, they called me late in the day to check. And that Friday, we reached out, and I believe Jane called Chandler and Mitchell. And then at that point in time, I got back to work, and we were told, obviously, that they had went to the cabin. And we were leaving on vacation for 2 weeks to go to our cabin in Sainer, Wisconsin. And so we took off, and assuming that everything was kosher, and we just left and went on vacation because that's where we were headed.
Did you leave that Friday?
Yes.
So if I told you that Friday was July 2nd, that sound about right to you?
Yeah, it's right in that area.
You're up at your cabin. How long were you planning on staying up there?
I think we were planning on staying until the 9th and then coming back.
At some point, did your concern or your family's concern grow over Bart and Krista and where they were?
Yes, it did. Well, we really hadn't heard a whole lot. And then we had received a call again as far as from Chandler that they still were not missing or not found. And at that point in time, I asked my wife just to get the address, and we would drive there to their cabin to see how they were doing or if they needed help.
Now, this was the next week after that Friday, going into that next week?
Yeah, so I would think that would have been a Wednesday of the next week, if I remember correctly. Okay. So we got up, drove over there, and that was the first time, we'd ever been to that cabin.
How did you get the address?
Chandler gave it to my wife, and then we added it into the GPS and drove over to the cabin.
So on Wednesday, you drive over. Was it close? Or you're right next door?
No, it was 88 miles away.
Okay, bit of a trek.
Yes.
And it was just you and your wife at that point?
Correct.
Tell me what you found when you got to the cabin.
Absolutely nothing. There was a log over the driveway, which looks like that's the way they had it. It was kind of goes up to like an old wagon wheel and crosses over. So I stepped over that. There was probably, I would say, 12 to 14 inches of grass, so the grass hadn't been cut, and you could see that nobody was there. I did walk around the cabin and look at all the doors, and everything was locked up tight. There was external padlocks on all the doors.
Okay. After walking around the cabin, did you conclude that they hadn't been there?
Correct. I got back in the car with my wife, and I said, they're not here. They haven't been here.
What did you do? What did you do at that point? What did you and your wife do with that information?
Well, at that point in time, then we called Chandler back to let him know that they were not there.
Can I ask you a question? Were you at the cabin, around the cabin, when you called?
Yes.
You had cell phone
At their cabin.
And you had
Yes.
cell phone service?
Yes.
And did you overhear the conversation with Chandler? Or was
I
it
did.
or was it just your wife on the phone?
No, I overheard it. We have Bluetooth through the stereo of the
Through the car?
Yes.
Okay. And did you inform Chandler that his parents weren't there?
Yeah. We told him that the parents weren't there.
What did he say?
At that point in time, he said you didn't see anything. No shotgun shells, no blood, nothing. And I said, absolutely nobody has been here.
He asked if you'd saw shotgun shells or blood.
Shotgun shells, blood, anything. And I, at that point in time, the conversation ended up fairly quickly. And that's when me and Jane were back in the car, obviously, and we turned around to head back to our cabin. And I responded to Jane. I said, this is really giving me a sick stomach. I said, this does not seem right. Something's not right here. And that's where we left it.
Okay. What did you end up doing that day?
We ended up going back to our cabin. We slept for a couple hours, put everything in a car, and came directly home that same day. So, which was, I believe, like I said, a Wednesday.
After you got back home, did you yourself have any other contact with Chandler Halderson?
I did not. But on the way home, I know my girls had went over to the house.
Okay. All right, 1 second.
Sure.
No further questions.
Cross-examination?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just a few questions. You are aware that the Haldersons moved to Plymouth, Wisconsin when Chandler Halderson was around first grade. Is that right?
My wife would remember more things like that. I don't know what age they moved there.
There was a chunk of time, maybe 10 years, when they didn't live in Dane County and lived in Plymouth, Wisconsin, correct?
Correct.
And during that time, is it safe to assume that the regular meetings at Pedro's, and of course, they weren't living in the house with the fishing, so those things weren't happening, correct?
Correct.
And so you were getting together with them less than you would when they lived close by?
I myself, yes. My wife was still getting together with her off and on. My wife would drive up.
When you went to the cabin in July of 2021, were you looking for any evidence or any information about what might or might not have happened up there?
I was looking for Krista and Bart, and I didn't find any evidence that anybody would be there, or was there for a matter.
When you were looking around, you found at least one shell casing somewhere on the property, correct?
No.
And you brought that up with Chandler when you talked to him on the phone, correct?
That I found a shell casing?
Yeah.
No, I said we didn't find anything there. I didn't say anything about shells.
Okay. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No.
May this witness be excused and released?
He may.
Thank you so much, sir. You have a good rest of your day.
And Judge, could we approach for, I promise it'll only be about 5 seconds?
Sure.
And you can head out, sir.
Okay.